We will head to Pittsburgh Steelers OTAs week 2. Plenty of action. Quarterbacks, running backs, offensive line, wide receivers, corners, really everybody. We got plenty to talk about as we head to week 2 of organized team activities. We'll start with the quarterbacks. This is what I have, and I think everybody has their eyes on when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, you want to talk about what Arthur Smith's offense is going to look like, but I think it's too early to kind of know that. I was joking around with some guys last week. We were sitting there and some crazy play happened, and we all looked at each other and we said that will never happen in the season because that is not a play that this offense will actually run. That's the time of year that we're at. They just kind of run an offense. They don't run their offense. They don't run anything past the vanilla. They just run what can we put out there to see if these guys are good enough to play some football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we won't see what Arthur Smith's offense is going to look like just yet. Probably not until like the end of training camp, right when the roster is probably sitting somewhere around 65 guys, somewhere around there, 75 guys, because I don't remember what the cut list is. For right now, it's the positions, it's the players, it's who's out there, it's who's going to make some moves, who's impressing, who's not impressing. Obviously, the quarterbacks are the people everybody's got their eyes on. Last week, it was Russell Wilson. It was stating a case that really he is the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that he was the guy that was out there every single day as the QB1 and remained the authority in the quarterback room. And he had Arthur Smith talking with him in the locker room and so on and so forth. This week, is that still the case? Or does Justin Fields get a little bit more? And I don't expect a ton. I don't expect Justin Fields to come in here and be the guy that takes over the QB1 or for them to switch. Like, I don't expect Justin Fields to now be the guy that takes first team reps and Russ takes second team reps. But I am interested to see if Justin gets a little bit of first team, a little bit more of those first quarterback out there than he was last week, because last week he got literally zero of it. And I'm interested to see if that changes. Obviously, when you talk about the offense as a whole, we want to see the wide receivers, who's going to impress in the wide receiver room, who's going to be the guy that steps up in absence of Deontay Johnson, who's going to be the two. Is Quez Watkins as impressive as maybe we started to see? I want to see Des Fitzpatrick. Somebody tossed out Denzel Mims the other day. I think offensively, that's where I'm looking, is the offensive line is still hit a guy and stand there. So you can't really tell much. Running backs are, at least in team drills, not really much to watch outside of a name that's impressing me in individual drills. But I'm looking at Justin Fields. Is he a guy that takes a step forward? Do the Steelers kind of give him more of an opportunity in week 2? What are you looking for as we hit the South Side?
I mean, I haven't been there in person, but from all the reports that you've indicated, it seems like it's been a little bit choppy with the wide receivers. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to hear reported back from you, is a lot more fluidity from these guys. Obviously, we know George Pickens is going to be great with whoever's throwing on the ball, but I want to hear less drops. I want to hear, it looked like it was routine for them. It looked like they were all on the same page, because last week, it seemed like there was still a little bit of a learning process, a feeling out process between these new quarterbacks and these mostly new wide receivers. So I want to hear about a little bit more fluidity. I want to hear about a little bit more impressiveness coming from the wide receiver room. You're muted. Yeah, there you go.
Not muted anymore. I agree. I look at fluid, like, it's because just like last week, like we said it 3 or 4 times, like it's tough to look at this group and say, was that a bad pass, or would George Pickens come down with that because he's George Pickens, and Quez Watkins wouldn't come down with that. Van Jefferson wouldn't come down with that. Roman Wilson wouldn't come down with that. It's tough to see that. I want to see more of that. I agree with you. But at the same time, I want to see Des Fitzpatrick. I want to see Denzel Mims. I want to see Marquez Callaway. I want to see these guys, because to be honest, week 1, I wasn't impressed with the guys that were out there. And I know Stevens made the argument that he kind of was, and I don't know, maybe I have a different view, but I just haven't been. I've been looking at this group and I've been saying, these guys, they're not, nobody I would say is guaranteed to make the roster if this was a better roster. I want to see the second group of guys. I think Des Fitzpatrick impressed last year. I think Denzel Mims is a guy that people were excited to sign to the Steelers practice squad a year ago. Why not give him an opportunity? I think that's what I'm looking for. It's like, yeah, I want to see everybody take a step forward. At the same time, I want to see if there's sleepers, because I think you only have these 3 weeks. Like, I think these 3 weeks will decide if the Pittsburgh Steelers get super aggressive for a wide receiver. And I don't think a Brandon Ayuk or a Deebo Samuel is still on the table right now. But I think that the Steelers could get aggressive in the fact of, let's go get a Traylon Burks, let's go get a Juwan Jennings, let's go get a John Mechie, maybe a Cortland Sutton, depending on how aggressive they want to get without giving up much draft capital. I kind of look at it like that and say you have the next 2 weeks of OTAs and 1 week of minicamp, which is essentially just 2 days, to prove that the Steelers should and your team should stay the way that they are heading into training camp. I want to see more guys get an opportunity to impress because, quite frankly, the group of guys out here, like, it's not like last year. It's not where it's like, oh, Deontay Johnson, Calvin Austin, Allen Robinson, like those are your guys. There are no guys. There's George Pickens. That's it. I want to see the rest of these guys kind of fill their way out here. And I think the Steelers should give them an opportunity. Like, that's how I kind of look. This is on Pittsburgh to look at this and say, we have to see if everybody's good or if we at least have somebody out there that could impress, because right now we have literally nobody. Like, literally no one is impressing for the Steelers wide receiver room. So excited to see that. I would expect more of that this week, especially in the wide receiver room. Toss it over to the defense. What are you looking for on defense this week?
Defense, and it's a similar thing on defense because the defensive line isn't doing a lot in team drills. The linebackers are probably in 7-on-7 doing a little bit more of the coverage kind of thing, but you know what to expect when you're looking at the linebackers there. Peyton Wilson's going to be good in coverage. Patrick Queen's going to be good in coverage. Landon Roberts, not so much. I mean, it's not his specialty. It's not where his wheelhouse is. So you're not really looking at that. So again, it falls to the secondary. How does Darius Rush follow up a good first week? Can he build off of it? That's the big thing for me, because that he was the big name last week. He was, as you mentioned, if there was an MVP for week 1 of the OTAs, Darius Rush was probably in that conversation. So can he build off of that? Or does somebody else come in and step up and perform well? Does Beanie Bishop kind of exert himself and kind of, make sure that he is the name that everybody's talking about over an Anthony Averett, over even a Darius Rush, maybe in that slot position? So I'm looking to see which of these guys can step up to the plate in the secondary and be that, second level MVP, because you have in Joey Porter, you have a pretty good idea of what you have in Dante Jackson. So which of these other guys can get up to that level where Rush was last week and really make his name known going forward into the summer?
Yeah, I agree. I want to see, and to be honest, like, I want Darius Rush to be the guy. Like, I do. I'm a guy that if you impress me early, I'm gonna give you the spotlight. I'm gonna give you an opportunity. Elijah Riley did that last year. Impressed early in OTAs, impressed early in minicamp, and all summer long kept impressing. And if it doesn't, if it goes the other way, I'll back right off. You are no longer the guy. You're not that dude. But right now it's Darius Rush. Right now, Darius Rush is the guy where every year you find a sleeper on defense that you feel has potential. I think the difference between this year and last year is this year, Darius Rush is a dude who I think has like potential in the NFL. Not a journeyman, not a guy who's just looking for a shot on a roster. Darius Rush is a dude that when he was drafted by Indianapolis, he was viewed as a guy who could be a piece to that defense for a long time. And it didn't work out. I get it, but he's still raw. He's still developing. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a guy that you could mold into something impressive. I think Darius Rush is right now my guy. I agree with you. I want to see him, to be honest, I want to see him win MVP again, week 2. I want to see him go out there and continue to ball out, continue to impress, so that we have more to talk about this kid, because that's it. Like, and it goes 2 ways. Like, Darius Rush is a good dude. And like, you talk to him in the locker room, nice guy, always willing to answer questions. Not, always says what's up, always joking with guys in the locker room. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a dude who could be a good teammate, be a good fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Omar Khan talks about being a Pittsburgh Steeler all the time. I think Darius Rush fits that bill. I want Darius Rush to be the MVP, but I agree with you. Like, that's who you're looking for. You're looking for, is Beanie Bishop ready to take a step forward? Anthony Averett. I think all eyes are going to be on him this week, because last week he was kind of lost in the shuffle. And you don't really want that, especially with Cam Sutton floating out there, Patrick Peterson making it known he wants to come back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, you're looking for more in these guys. So I agree. I think all eyes will be on those two. I'm looking at Darius Rush. I'm looking at those two. I'm looking at Corey Trice take another step forward, although individual drills, you're only kind of getting so much. I think people are making a bigger deal out of it than it is with the whole Corey Trice looks impressive, this guy's going to be a stud. Come on. And if we're going to be honest, the Dante Jackson thing, there's a lot of talk out there. I've seen it all over the place, and I laugh at it constantly. And I'll probably get some slack when I head to the stadium if people see this because they'll know who I'm talking about. But there's a lot of people out there right now who are talking about, oh, do the Steelers have somebody next to Joey Porter Jr. good enough to start opposite of Joe? Yes, his name's Dante Jackson. They didn't trade their starting wide receiver for a guy who's going to come in here and compete for a starting job. They traded their starting wide receiver for a starting cornerback. That's what they did. Dante Jackson is the dude opposite of Joey Porter. I have no worries about Dante Jackson being the guy next to Joey Porter Jr. I think those two will work very well together. I think it's time to shut that conversation down early of the, is Dante Jackson good enough? Do the Steelers have that guy? Is it an open competition? It's not. It's Dante Jackson. That's who it is. If you ask Mike Tomlin right now, the answer is Dante Jackson, and it's going to remain Dante Jackson. I agree with you. I agree with the week 2 MVP. Excited to see it. We'll see plenty of it in the next 3 days. And I think, just like you said, wide receivers and corners have the best opportunity this time of year to really impress and make a name for themselves. And I want to see everybody kind of do that.